I was on my way to dinner from my dorm, and I was by myself because my roommate did not want to go with me. And it was dark and it was rainy. It's that time of year when it gets really dark really early. And I was about to cross the street, so I looked both ways. There was no cars coming. Well, it looked like it wasn't, so I started walking. And then I heard a car approaching. Like, you kind of hear it out of one ear. And so I kind of glanced thinking that they're going to stop, but then all I saw were these headlights right next to me. Like, only these two, all I could see, it was completely dark just for those headlights. And then suddenly I was airborne. And then I landed, and for a second, I had no idea what just happened. And then for a few seconds, I was just completely dazed. And it came to my mind, I think I just got hit by a car. And then I was in the hospital, there was a bunch of tests, and I had the feeling I was going to die. So I was really nice to everyone I met. Every nurse, I was like, how was your day? Well, I had a broken hip and a missing fingernail and was just kind of really out of it on morphine. I was convinced I was going to die. So in my head, it was like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to make the best first impressions ever. It's going to be great. And then I'll die. And everyone will say, wow, she was so nice. And so having that approach to death, you don't really get that close to death very often. It's usually towards the end of your life, like the end. You're usually, dying of old age, or you've been stabbed, and you know you're gonna die. Like, I thought I was gonna die. I knew I was gonna die, even though I didn't. And that definitely changes a person, because it's just an entirely different way of thinking. Like, some part of me, even though, I was, 16 years old, I didn't think that the world was this great, happy place anymore. I knew all these people were suffering in different countries, and people were dying the way I thought I was going to die every day, but getting hit by a car made it all more real and removed that last layer of maybe everything is happier than it really is. It just, it's cliche, but it takes away that last bit of innocence you really have. There's always that line between we accept you and what you actually cannot be accepted into. Because when I was in a wheelchair, I couldn't go into the cafeteria anymore, because that was a very cramped space. I couldn't get my wheelchair in there, so I had to sit in a classroom by myself every lunch block. And someone would bring me my lunch, and that was entirely different. It didn't, it felt like, some part of me felt like a little bit special at the beginning. Because I guess someone brings me my lunch, I'm so special, I don't have to do anything. But towards the end, I was just sitting there by myself. I didn't have any friends who had the same lunch as me. And it was weird. It was depressing. I don't know. It was very, very quiet. I just felt so awkward, because literally when you see a person in a wheelchair, you're going to move over. So every time I was being pushed to my next class, the entire group of people who were walking the classes just parted like the Red Sea. And it was almost like physical walls separating me from people. And just all kinds of little things like that made me different. There's two types of people. They either stare at you and they're like, I don't know what's going on there, but I'm going to keep looking to see if it makes sense. Or there's people who distinctly do not look at you, as if they think you'll be embarrassed by them glancing at you, so they keep their eyes entirely averted. I it's hard to describe, but distinctly not being looked at. It's almost worse than being stared at.
And where did you look?
I looked directly ahead. No one would make eye contact with me, so I looked directly ahead of them, over their heads, away from them, because they wouldn't look at me.